Yes, everybody, welcome back to Talking Walls. Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, and Merry Christmas to you all. It is Christmas Eve at the moment. I don't think I'll upload a video tomorrow, which is Christmas Day, so I'll take this opportunity to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and hopefully you enjoy it enjoy the next few days with hopefully your family, friends, loved ones. And yeah, just a quick update on some of the Wolves bits and pieces that have happened over the last 24 to 48 hours or so. We have finally heard from Nathan Shi. I say finally, I suppose he only got the role sort of late on Friday anyway, but he has opened communication with the fans for the first time. I think this is good in a way. All we've seen of him before the video was just a picture of him. We don't know how he comes across. We don't know what he sounds like. Just a few, obviously, key points in that. It's always very difficult in these situations because the bridges between Fosun, Jeff Shi at the time, and Wolves fans have been broken, and they'd be very, very difficult to repair or mend. Fosun have obviously listened to the fans. They're also going to be very, very aware of what's going on at the moment at the football club. And obviously Jeff Shi has lost his job. He was, removed from that role. I'll get back onto that in a minute. And Nathan Shi has been introduced. Now, from what I've heard so far from people, is that Nathan Shi has been very impressive at Compton, and it is a much more positive mood around the football club internally at the moment, which bodes well. And as far as we're aware, or I'm aware, the words that he spoke on that video yesterday were words of his own. It wasn't a chat GPT special. They're words that came from Nathan Shi personally. And I think, to be fair, speaks very decent English, considering what some fans may or may not have been expecting. Comes across quite well. But one of the key things he said there, and I fully agree with it, is actions speak louder than words. Of course, it's very easy for anyone to get in, on a phone call or on a camera and say a bunch of words until they've got to put stuff into action now. We saw with Jeff Shi, the communication wasn't particularly great. When he was communicating, it wasn't necessarily the right things. It wasn't the things that fans want to hear. That's something that Nathan Shi needs to get on top of and listen to fans and speak to fans. Hopefully, in the future, Wolves may sort that out in some capacity for people. But I think that's what. Look, we're all going to have our opinions on Fosun. We're all going to have our opinions on what happened with Jeff Shi. Ultimately, all we can do now is allow Nathan Shi that time, or at least give him an opportunity. Time isn't necessarily on his side. Things need to happen sooner rather than later. We do need some clarity on some things still. I think in terms of Jeff Shi's position, not Wolverhampton Wanderers, but at Fosun International and the Fosun Sports Group, because of course it was made very clear that Jeff Shi isn't part of the operational day-to-day things at Wolverhampton Wanderers anymore, but he will remain as the chairman of Fosun Sports Group. And Wolverhampton Wanderers are under the Fosun Sports Group umbrella. So I think people need that sort of peace of mind that Jeff Shi isn't necessarily going to be tinkering and interfering with what's going on at this football club anymore. I think once we get a little bit of clarity on that, it probably makes things a little bit easier for both parties. For us as fans, we can maybe breathe a sigh of relief. And for Nathan Shi, that he's got, for now, obviously still as an interim, that control. If between now and May, of course, we know the situation. He made that very clear, that they know that we're in a really bad situation at the moment. He's acknowledged that. Sometimes I don't think Jeff Shi acknowledged the situations and how bad some of the situations we're in. Whereas Nathan Shi has acknowledged that. I think once we get a bit of clarity on certain things, we can all move forward a little bit more. But it's clear that Fosun want to stay. In my opinion, I might be completely wrong. It's clear that Fosun want to stay at this football club at the moment. They've had to make a change to save face a little bit. Jeff's had to move on. Nathan Shi's had to come in. And look, I've seen him speak for 3 minutes there. I don't know what any of their plans are internally, what he's speaking, but what I've been hearing of people, it's positive. So fingers crossed it can remain that way. Fingers crossed we have a really positive month of January. And we'll go from there. The month of January is going to be interesting though. Of course, on my last video I spoke about Strand Larsen. I already gave my opinion and thoughts and what happened with him post Brentford. There have been, obviously, West Ham at the moment were the only club linked with him at the time. 40 million euros is a valuation that was been bandied around over the last couple of days or so. A valuation that I would snap your arm off if any club offered us that right now for Jurgen Strand Larsen. But also seems a little bit unrealistic. I think West Ham United at the moment realise that valuation. Clubs are probably looking at him and thinking, you've got a guy here that's only scored one Premier League goal this season. Why would we want to spend 40 million euros on him? On the flip side of that, clubs, owners, scouts, directors of footballs would have seen Jurgen score 14 Premier League goals last season, would have possibly seen how he did that with the quality of players around him. So we will wait and see if Wolves can get to that figure. It's just in terms of timing, in an ideal world, you'd probably want it done sooner rather than later in January, rather than us wait until like the 28th, 29th of Jan to sell him for 40 million. So it's something that, probably around now, all parties need to sit together and think, Jurgen, do you want to, roll your sleeves up, try and grab games by the scruff of the neck and help this football team? Or, is it best for all parties if we move on? So it'll be interesting to see. However, literally as I was about to press record, Crystal Palace have now been credited with an interest in Jurgen Strand Larsen. I'll touch on this. It's quite interesting in a minute. Obviously, David Ornstein a few days ago mentioned that there were other clubs also interested, but Crystal Palace are the latest club to be credited with an interest in Jurgen Strand Larsen, and also they have an interest in João Gomes. Now, for me, it's no real surprise that this sort of news is coming out, especially with Matt Hobbs, the former sporting director at Wolves, now working with Crystal Palace in a similar role. He was at Molineux on Saturday against Brentford. He was pictured at Molineux on Saturday. I was aware he was going, and then I've seen pictures of him there as well. No surprise. João Gomes was his almost little project in getting him to Wolves. He was a massive part of bringing João Gomes to Wolves. He would have a good relationship with the player. He'll know how good that João Gomes is. Jurgen Strand Larsen, of course, he would have worked on that as well, bringing him on the initial deal on loan from Spain as well. So Matt Hobbs is very familiar with both players and the qualities that they have. So the deal is there to be got at. I think it was no surprise that Crystal Palace eventually would probably come and try some of our players. And they looked at Hwang during the summer as well, if you remember. So this is going to happen now. Wolves are in a bad position. There are players there with some elements of quality. They're going to get pinched. It's just up to Wolves now, the guys at the top. Can they figure out the best fee? Can they figure out the best timing to move these on? Reinvest it all being well in players that want to be here, want to fight, happy to stay next season if we do drop a division below. And that's the situation now that really we are in. In terms of incoming news, it's still been a little bit quiet. Some sources in Europe suggesting that Wolves hold an interest in Diogo Leite, I believe, the Portuguese defender. I do remember him at Porto some years ago. He's playing for Union Berlin over in the German Bundesliga at the moment. A number of teams across Italy in the top division looking at him as well. But Wolves said to look at him. It's unknown whether, due to the position that we're in, if he would be open to coming to Molineux and playing for us. Defence is probably a position I would potentially look at strengthening. There have been rumours about certain players like Agbadu and so on that he could maybe move on. So it'd be interesting to see if he would join. He is out of contract at the end of this season. So if Union Berlin want to cash in on him, this is going to be the month that they're going to do it for other European clubs. But we'll wait and see. And I'm hoping over the next couple of days or so we do see more rumours, more incomings, hopefully more solid news on players potentially joining the football club. I made it clear on the last video, I would love to be in a world where we've got players lined up on the 1st of January. Of course, it's difficult with our lack of flexibility with the registration at the moment. We could probably bring in one homegrown player straight away without having to sell anyone. But other than that, if we want to make more signings, they're going to have to be under 21. All players are going to have to move on. Jurgen Strand Larsen at the moment is the most probable player to be moving on for a decent fee. But as always, guys, Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Hit that like button if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And please do have a very, very Merry Christmas. I will catch up with you guys soon. I believe my Liverpool preview will probably be out on Boxing Day as well. Fingers crossed Wolves can give us a late Christmas present at Anfield. But exactly, I'm not exactly holding my breath for that one. And yeah, look after yourselves. Enjoy it, guys. And I will see you very, very soon.